everyone, I'm Amy with Eating Healthy, Spending Less, and today we are going to do part 2 of our marriage Q&A. Last week we talked all about how we met, healthy eating, how we budget, and some conflict issues. Today we're going to talk all about goals, intimacy, foster care, and just our relationship. Okay, that was a long intro. Let's get started. Okay, so if you haven't already watched part 1, I highly recommend that you do. It'll give a really good backstory of how we're in this place that we're in now. We've been married 13 years. We have 4 children. 3 are adopted. We're going to talk more about that today. So let's move on. First, we're going to talk about goals. So what is your 5-year plan as a couple? We don't sit down and talk about our goals. I mean, like, we don't go, this is our 5-year or our 10-year goal.
We better be here in X number of years.
Yeah.
I don't think we think that way. I think Amy has in her mind certain dreams, and obviously there's a timetable to say, hey, let's get to this place. I tend to think more immediately or short term. So
I'm a very go, do it type of person. And so, like, when we moved into this house, we were fostering, and I said, I only want to be in this house for 2 years. It's a great, smaller home for foster care. You have to lock all of your stuff, and so we could easily lock everything in a linen closet. And I said, okay, when we're done fostering, I want to get out of here. Well, it's been 4 years and counting, and we're pretty happy here for right now. This is kind of where God has us, and there's no moving deadline or goal anymore. So things like that change based on your circumstances. So I would say, as far as a 5-year plan, I don't really want to be in this home when we have teenagers, so that would be kind of something that we're thinking about. As far as we live in California, do we want to keep living here? These are all discussions that are always on the table that we discuss frequently, but we don't have a deadline.
Yeah. I think things that I wanted to happen was to get tenured, which will happen after this video is actually uploaded.
Job goals, career goals.
And then
you wanted a career.
Start a master's degree, and so in 5 years, hopefully, I'll say it will be completed. So there are a couple of things that I don't know that we're necessarily planning 5 years out, but there are short-term goals, paying off Amy's car and then starting
Definitely
to
have financial goals.
Build up
huge financial goals.
Savings and get to a good place where we're paying double mortgages and things like that. So
do you have family goals? We do actually have one family goal. Well, I would say we probably have like parenting goals, but as far as with the kids, we have told our kids that we would like to take them on family mission trips. And so our youngest is 6. This summer, we really wanted to go on our first family mission trip, but due to COVID-19, that didn't happen. We would definitely like to take our kids on a family mission trip by next summer.
Yeah, so the way that looks for us is because I was at seminary and I had so many friends that have taken churches all over the United States, what we would like to do is to simply go and visit them for a week or two and just invest back into those friendships, because we all moved in all different directions. So just to reconnect, but also figure out a way to serve them and kind of re-energize them.
Yeah.
And then as the kids get older, and then we can start going further out and maybe doing international type trips. But
safety is a big deal for me, so depending on the safety of that.
So in the summer times, we want to go and visit those people, those friends that have churches, have ministries, and just see what we can do to help them out.
Absolutely. Okay, what are your dreams as a couple after your children are grown and moved out? We've talked about this.
And I think I brought it up, and it kind of shocked Amy. She didn't know what to say. But I told her, just thinking, as a teacher, I can teach pretty much anywhere in the world. Once I get into maybe a university
and
professor.
I can blog from anywhere.
And so my goal is to move somewhere that maybe we've never been before, and use our jobs in order to just invest in people
Absolutely.
that need help, people that need, more importantly, people that don't know Christ. And I think I can see myself doing short-term type mission projects for a year or two, and then just moving, or maybe going and helping missionaries, investing in their churches and the people they're trying to reach.
Yeah.
But I want our kids to look at us and say, I wouldn't mind growing up and being like my mom and dad.
That's a big one.
Yeah, huge. So
that puts a big
I want to give them an
weight
example.
on us.
So as obviously we're doing this as a family when they're still young, but then, after they move out, we'll still love them wherever we're at, and definitely spend time with them.
And it's short term.
But
we're not talking long term stuff.
I'm not moving to the jungles for 20 years where they can't
Yeah.
come see me, but I want them to look at us and say, I want a marriage like that. I want to be able to, no matter what my job is, to give back and to help take care of the community.
And we love spending time together.
Yep.
That was a delayed response. Okay, let's talk about foster care before we get into our relationship a little bit more. Okay, should I give a little intro into why we became foster parents? Okay, so I wanted to be I wanted to adopt. Let's just put it that way.
Well, I did too.
Yes.
It wasn't just a one-sided thing.
And it's something that we talked about when we were in college. I don't think we really talked about it in high school. But in college, I read a book about a lady who adopted a child from China. And I cannot think of what that book is called. I have tried for... Huh?
Lost Daughters.
I don't know. But anywho, I loved that. And I remember going back to my dorm room and telling my roommate about how much I wanted to adopt really a child from China is what I really wanted to do. And so when we were married, we had our first daughter, Callie, and she was about 2 years old. We really wanted to have another child, but I had a miscarriage early on, and then we really had trouble getting pregnant again. And so I decided maybe this is God's timing to say, you should adopt. And so we did look into international adoption. The cost was way more. It was like our yearly salary at that point, what an international adoption would cost. So we immediately flipped it and said, okay, let's do domestic adoption. Again, that was at least a third of our take-home pay. And so I had a friend who was a foster parent, and she said, you should go to a foster care orientation. And so I called our city CPS line, and we registered for the orientation, and we both went and said, no way are we doing this.
Did things backwards. We went to the meeting that takes place after the orientation and heard all the horror stories of what potentially could go wrong. So it was tough to sit there and listen to just what the baggage that some kids bring. That was hard.
Well, it's the trauma.
Yeah.
Their trauma and how they deal with trauma. And some of that, how they deal with it, can be very scary. And especially for children that are not used to those types of circumstances. And so we really were fearful for Callie in that. And about a month or two went by, and I just felt like, Amy, you've got to do this. You have got to be a foster parent. If you want to adopt, you have to be a foster parent. Well, you know that going into foster care, that the whole purpose of fostering a child is to reunify with their birth parent. And the only time you're able to adopt that child is if that doesn't work out. And very rarely do the children not go back at least one time to try and work it out with their birth parent. So we finally accepted the risk, and we decided to do it because I felt this huge calling on my heart from the Lord to do it. So we got started. We signed up with an agency. We're certified through them. By the way, if you are interested in fostering, it is completely free to be certified as a foster parent. There is doctor examinations and fingerprinting and things like that, but we were reimbursed for all of that. And then you have to get your house ready. So there was minimal cost in getting locks on cabinet doors and things like that. the little outlet covers. But it was pretty easy.
Yeah.
We were certified in 6 weeks. I went at it head strong. I wanted to get it over with. And in the process of getting certified, I found out I was pregnant with Capri.
Yeah. So it shifted priorities, I think. And when Amy went on bed rest,
I got really sick during that pregnancy.
And we just kind of pressed pause on foster care.
Capri did not make it. And so that's a completely different video. And so we put fostering on hold. We were completely certified. We were also receiving phone calls, even when we told them not to call us because I was on bed rest. We were still receiving phone calls to take placements because there was such a need for foster parents. Well, but then after the birth of Capri and postpartum and all of that, we were really wanting to accept a child, and it was just silence.
No phone calls for 2-3 months.
No.
Yeah.
2-3 months.
That was longer.
May to December.
Okay.
It was a long time. We got a call on a late Friday night. It was 8:00. Troy was still working at Radio Shack, and as a part-time job just to bring in a little extra money. And we got a call for 2 little girls. And it was a God thing. We went to pick them up, and they both had K names. Callie and Capri both have K names. And so I just cried. I just felt like this was totally what God wanted us to do. We were at the right place, right how He orchestrated it for us. And we became foster parents for 2 little girls, a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old. We went through the reunification process through foster care for over a year, and it was not in the best interest for the girls to be reunified with the birth family. And so we, almost on the 2-year anniversary, we were able to adopt them. And then within that 2 years, we also started fostering our son, and we adopted him
a month after our 2-year mark.
With him, so a year later. So we fostered for 3 years total. We had 17 foster children in our home. And I think, let's just answer this one question. What is one thing you wish someone had told you about foster care and adoption?
Well, if you've ever met anyone who's a foster care parent, and Amy's this way while we were foster parents, they will tell everyone you should foster care, because there's, I think, the nature within women that, man, there's definitely some fulfillment.
You want to nurture children.
Absolutely. And like what I used to say to that couple, if Amy was saying, man, you should be foster parents.
There's a hummingbird looking in our window just staring at us.
I would say to that same couple, don't do it unless you've been called to do it.
Absolutely.
And I think that's probably, it probably would have changed our mind if someone had told us that, because we felt like we were called to do this. But if you're considering it,
don't do it unless you're called.
Yeah, because there's so much investment emotionally that when a child gets taken away, man, it rips your heart out.
Yeah.
And I don't think you can emotionally cope with the number of losses that we had, in terms of, there were several kids that we said, yes, we'd love to adopt, and then those didn't work out. And so not only are they foster kids, but they're potentially your own kids.
And I'll tell you this, going through miscarriage is horrible. I will never downplay the grief that goes on when you miscarry, or like losing Capri was devastating for us. But I will tell you this, having a baby in your home that you're expecting to adopt, you've actually been told that you get to adopt this child, and then having him taken away from us, I grieved and cried more over losing him than I did over my miscarriages. And it was because I had him, I was his mommy for 5 months, and then to not have him anymore was devastating for me. And so I grew to absolutely love him like my own. So if you want to be a foster parent, I know everyone says, oh, I could never do that because I could never give a child up. Yes, you can, because what you have to realize is it wasn't God's best for you or for that child for you to be together. Mm-hmm. God had a greater plan for the child and for you. And so it's something that you just have to accept, and don't let it stop you from being a foster parent. I think so many times there are so many acts of service that we can do, but we have this negative thought that we can't get out of our mind, and it stops us from doing what we're called to do. Mm. And so if you're called to foster, do it. Don't let anything negative stop you, because God will bless you through it, no matter what. Okay, here we go.
See, I just thought that Amy just didn't feel like talking about it, right? Intimacy. So she'll just breeze over it, and maybe we'll, a couple
I don't
days
want
from
to
now.
talk about this, but here we go. We're going to talk about intimacy. Okay. I'm a very private person about stuff like this. Oh, here we go. How do you keep the flame going in your marriage? Date nights or date ins? We don't go on dates.
It's hard for Amy to want to eat out.
I don't like eating out.
Because it's so difficult with restrictions, or really her desires.
With plant-based eating, we have like one vegan restaurant.
And even the vegan restaurant uses tons of oils and other things that Amy doesn't necessarily want. So there have been times when we've gone out to eat with
I can eat at Chipotle.
Yes. Families or friends or something, and Amy will always bring her own meal. And so eating out really isn't, I don't think for us a date. A date is something that's enjoyable the whole time. Right?
I love eating at home. I really love cooking, and it's obviously, y'all know, it's a huge passion of mine. And so, we've eaten out some, but for dates, it's not really on my radar. Now, my parents live a couple miles away from us, and they take the kids a lot. Mm-hmm. They have a lot of sleepovers. We are so blessed with that. And so we do have a lot of alone time where we just hang out.
Or we run our errands, but it's not like, man, we've got to do this. Although we do feel like this is a requirement or a necessity. We've got to get this done. But we'll enjoy each other's company while we're doing it. Which is as close to a date, I think, as you get with 4 kids.
Absolutely. And sometimes my mom will say, well, the kids, they've already asked if they can eat dinner here. Yep. Is that okay with you? And I'm like, sure. And so she knows that I need to make something for myself to eat. And so she'll say, why don't you guys run home and eat dinner and then come back when you're done?
Yeah, so we might be gone 40 minutes or something, but it's time just for the two of us not have
we cook together. We make our meals and watch a show. We typically sit on the couch when it's just the two of us, and we watch a show together, and it's just like nonchalant. So it's not a date. We don't really do date nights. We just find moments to spend time together.
Yeah. And I'm not the best at romance, so this has been a struggle.
I'm surprised you said that on camera.
So I think probably the greatest encouragement is never start dating your spouse. Never stop trying to win her heart. And that does get tough with a busy schedule, and when I'm feeling a bit selfish, like it's going to take a little bit of energy to please my wife. But if we were dating before marriage, I would have gladly expended all of that energy to try to woo her. So I think there are those reminders that, man, we've got to put in the effort to keep that flame alive.
How do you guys do intimate time with 4 kids? Easy.
The door behind us.
We lock the door.
That's it. We say, okay, kids, go put on a loud movie.
Oh, stop it. No, we are not those people. We do it. Oh, gosh. Here we go.
You said it.
I did. So our kids have quiet time every day, every afternoon. And so we take advantage of that. We also, this is something that we learned from mentors of ours years ago, that sometimes it's best to be intimate before the date than after the date. So if you are full from food, sometimes you feel bloated or you're tired, and it's just not as romantic. So when you spark the fire before the date or before your time together, then the evening is pretty good. Okay, well, I'm glad we breezed through that subject, relationship, and then it'll be over, we'll be done. So what do you love most about Amy?
She asked me this last night and told her I wasn't gonna tell her until the video.
I have no idea.
What I love most about Amy, I love that she has partnered with me and that God has uniquely gifted her to be my counterpart. In so many ways, in so many of my shortcomings, Amy has helped me be a better father, a better husband, become a teacher, which wasn't even something that was in my plans. But she's been such an encouragement and often the small voice of wisdom and reason when I need it, but I'm not aware of it. So much of what she's great at are areas where maybe I struggle. And so I think we can play off of one another in a number of different areas, from parenting to communicating or lack of communicating on my part.
Okay, how do you reset when or if your relationship feels off? We do deal with this. We both, like Troy will sometimes say, I just don't feel like we're communicating well, or we're just kind of bickering more than normal. So how do we reset?
I told Amy her responsibility is so much easier. All she has to do is touch me.
It's
hold
true.
my hand.
Hug.
Yeah, something physical. Give me a kiss. What do I do when you need a reset?
I
actually just like
acts
stop
of service.
And listen.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest thing is whatever I'm doing or wherever my focus is to.
I constantly feel like I'm spinning a million plates at one time. And so for me, it's just him helping me and like crossing stuff off the list of what needs to get done.
Yeah.
For sure. How do you guys watch TV in bed? No. So I internalize TV shows. We watched Lost, the whole thing. And it was on my mind all day long. I could not live my life the way that I wanted to because I was constantly having a show on my mind.
Yeah, we've had shows. Chuck.
Bones,
Psych.
But I've learned my lesson.
Yeah.
It damages my daily life. So.
I think the things that we kind of agree on in taste are now more the building houses for very little money,
HGTV right? type shows.
We've been watching a lot of architecture building shows that are taking place over in Europe.
Yeah, those don't plague my mind.
Reality stuff that we're like, oh, those are neat concepts. But it doesn't have to overwhelm us into thinking we got to make a change.
Yeah, like the show This Is Us. I know so many people recommended it to us because it talked about foster care and stuff. But you know what? It's a drama and it's something that I knew would plague my mind. So no, we don't do that.
And with all the news during this quarantine, this helped me also when I dumped a lot of things off my smartphone, games that I'd play, baseball. Apps and even social media where I would get my news. I'm not nearly as anxious in the last 2 weeks since I've not been looking at those
You've
things.
been playing the guitar a lot.
I have been.
And it's soothing and relaxing. So we're finding other things to do. We bought a piano during quarantine and we bought my husband a guitar. So we play a lot more music. We laugh a lot more. We do watch a lot more kid movies. Like last night we watched, what's it called?
Dora the Explorer. The live one. It's hilarious.
We've watched it like 4 or 5 times.
I think 4 times. Yeah.
And we watched it during dinner last night.
Can you say delicioso?
Okay, so we have 2 more questions that we're going to answer and then we'll be done. My husband has depression and mood swings. Have you ever dealt with this and how to deal? So we haven't dealt with it with each other, but depression actually runs on Troy's side of the family. So Troy has family members that deal with terrible, debilitating depression. So,
yeah,
what would you say?
And working in public schools, I think anxiety and depression are exponentially greater greater problem than they ever were in history. And I think a lot of it deals with just how much information is thrown at us. And often with depression, it's an overload. I've got too much going on and I don't know where to start to kind of decompress and handle those things. If you're dealing with depression or someone that you love deals with depression, understand that it's not you that's causing the lack of communication and the misunderstanding. And that the person that's dealing with it often wishes that they weren't. In fact, I'd say most of the time, if not all the time, they wish that this wasn't a part of their life. It's the baggage that they never want to bring in, but is always kind of there.
Yeah.
It's not you, but it is a very real problem. Depression in particular is something that's on a chemical level within the body. And so see doctors, look for help. And obviously medication isn't always the answer, but it can significantly impact the way that we're able to process when those feelings or the mood swings hit. Don't be afraid to keep communicate with your doctor. Hey, you put me on a medication, it's not working, or it's making me feel off. Don't settle for not being yourself.
Okay, the last question. What is your favorite thing that your wife does for you every day? What is it? I don't know.
The resetting of our house.
Nuh-uh. Really? Oh,
yes.
My goodness.
I love that Amy does this because I am the beneficiary of her cleaning and look behind us. That bed, I usually get up after she does. And it's pretty rare that I have to make the bed. So it is a little bit selfish. She does these things because I know for her it helps her to handle the anxiety of, hey, I've got a clean house when I'm coming home. Or when I walk into my bedroom, it's peaceful and calm.
Yeah, we set the tone for how we walk in our front doors. And I wanted to implement a strategy to where every time we walk in the front door, we're not greeted with stress or greeted with more work. We're greeted with relaxation and a place of refuge.
Yeah, but Amy started that for her own sake. And I've said it occasionally. I really like it, but I think this is probably the first time when I
had no idea.
Have said I do appreciate it and enjoy it too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My favorite thing about you is when you help me in the kitchen or help with the kids. Spontaneously get out a game to play, and I love that. Or you get out your guitar and you want to play and get the kids involved. So I hope that you enjoyed this. This was long, and but I think I learned some things today.
Good. I've romanced her.
Oh. Okay, thank you so much for joining us, and we will catch up with you in the next video.
Bye, friends.
Bye.